life. Joys, they come and go like waves, they ebb and flow, like sorrows come and gone. The sun rises with the dawn. Sweet refuge, when all are gone and your face is all I see. Sweet refuge, in all my songs, words and tunes you give to me. And when questions rise and answers are not found, I look within your eyes and feel your grace abound. Sweet refuge, in life and death, two sides of the same coin. Sweet refuge, in every breath, my heart to you belongs. Wherever I may go in this world, my eyes do see, may I always know you're always here with me. Sweet refuge, you fill my heart with love that overflows. Sweet refuge, your faces, your names resound above, below. Guide my every step.
Om Asato Ma Sadagamaya Tamaso Maham Jyotirgamaya Mrityormam Amritam Gamaya Avir Avir Maeri Rudra Yate Dakshinam Mukha Te Namaham Payanityam. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality, and reach us through and through ourselves, and evermore protect us from ignorance by thy sweet, compassionate face. So my subject this morning is the voice of freedom. And we're going to be talking about karma and free will. And we can begin with the intrinsic, intuitive, common sense belief that we are individuals with free will. You have a soul. You have options. You have choices. You have volition, the power to initiate action and to persevere with that action. Your volition, that is your will, acts freely. You're free to act independently of the opinions of other men, of the forces of nature, of the gods in heaven, and even of the promptings of your own desires and habits. And because you act freely, you own your actions. They're your own thoughts. They're your own behavior. And therefore, we naturally feel accountable. And we hold ourselves responsible for our actions. And we expect others to do the same. But let's look here at we're looking here at the subject of freedom and free will. Free will does not mean that you are beyond the law of causation. But there are different interpretations of this law. That is, we can speak of agent causation and event causation. Now, you are a free will, moral agent. That is, you are a person. You choose your actions. You hold yourself responsible. You're not caused to act. That is, you're not forced to act. Although you do have reasons. But you act of your own free will. You are not a billiard ball. Now, a billiard ball is subject to event causation. That's a radically different interpretation, a different idea. Now, once that cue ball is struck with a pool, then immediately it begins to roll. And if we know all of its position beforehand and the force of that blow, we can calculate mathematically exactly where the positioning of those balls will be on the pool table when the game is done. The pool ball is a material, physical thing. You are a spiritual, metaphysical thing. You have reasons. A reason is a metaphysical, immaterial thought in a mind. Whereas a cause, that means a sufficient cause to produce a predictable action, is just a bodily movement or a neuron firing in the brain. These are two radically different ideas of causation. Let's analyze just a little bit about an action. Our whole life is nothing but we coming to crossroads. We're making choices. We're taking actions. And every act of karma is what's going to determine our destiny. So we can do a bit analysis. You analyze the basketball game. You break the whole thing down into little bit pieces. So we look at a bit analysis of an action. What is an action? That's a big philosophical subject. That's a whole domain of philosophy. And when we think about an action, it can be broken down into 4 parts. That is, there are reasons for belief. That is, we have a reason to do what we do. Then we form a prior intention. And then there is the intention in action. And then there's the bodily movement that is the result. And let me illustrate that with an example from Professor Searle. His analogy is, I want to lift my arm, and therefore my arm goes up. That's an act of karma. Now that means there's a background beliefs. There are that is the reasons for the action. That means you have to have a belief that you can raise your arm. You have to have a belief, maybe you're going to ask a question. You have to have a belief that raising your arm signals that you want to ask a question. Then you have to have a desire to ask a question. This is all background. But none of that is sufficient to produce you to raise your arm. Because immediately after those reasons, there's a gap. It's an empty spot. That's where your free will. You have to choose to form a prior intention. That is, you have your purpose. What is my purpose? You have to form an idea in your mind. What am I going to do? I'm going to raise my arm to ask a question. That's the prior intention. Now what happens? The arm still doesn't go up. Rather, because after that prior intention is formed, there's another gap, where again you have to make a free will choice. You have to try to raise your arm. That trying is what we mean by, that's just the movement of the prana here, the secretion of the acetylcholine there, the axons of the dendrites here in the arm. It causes the arm to go up. That's trying, making an effort. And the resulting is that there is a bodily movement. And all of those four things together, they make up a single action. That we've zoomed in on the action. This all happens instantaneously. The action of our own free will. This is why in Indian philosophy, the students of the great law of karma often say that because you act freely, you are the captain of your ship and you are the master of your own soul. That's a nice analogy. The captain of a ship is not just some guy that has a boat. A captain it's kind of a status function that's imposed by a whole hierarchy of authority that gives this man, that is maybe the captain of a naval vessel, that gives him authority and that gives him powers and responsibilities to take action that distinguishes him from all those individual men of the crew. He's the captain. That means he's in control of the ship, just like you are in control of your life. The captain makes decisions. He may consult with the crew and the first mates, but he makes his own independent final decision, independent of others' opinions, and also independent of his own inner desires and hidden unconscious drives. Someone like Captain Bligh of the Caine Mutiny. He's not the kind of captain we're talking about. This captain is a captain who makes desire independent. He has desire independent reasons for action. It's desireless action. He does the right thing. He's the captain. You visualize a captain, a great sailing ship. And there there may be wind and the storms and the mountain-high waves. But there's the captain remains calm, like is the eye in the center of the storm. His hands are on the wheel. He's steering the ship. He's in charge. All the crew knows everything's all right. The captain is still at the helm. And the captain he takes responsibility for all of the completion of the mission. That's his goal and his purpose, to complete the mission with all the safety of his boat and all of his crew. And if he is successful, then maybe he will be praised for having accomplished the mission. If he fails, then he alone takes the blame. And so this is an analogy for ourselves, for our own condition, for our own way of living, which is described for us in the great law of karma. You know, the karmavadins, vadin there just means somebody who believes in the law of karma. They give an interesting analogy about our actions. We're trying to think about our actions. What is an action? Well, they said that there's three kinds of action. They give us an analogy. They use the idea of a hunter. That is an archer. It's in the forest. And he has on his back, he has a quiver which is full of arrows. That's your sanchita karma. That means those are all the actions that are coming up. They haven't happened yet, but they're coming up. They're ready to manifest in this life. Then there's a second type of actions, which are the kriyamana karma, and that refers to visualize an arrow on the bow. Now here the archer has full control over that arrow, and where he's going to shoot, how far, he's going to pull back the bow. He releases that arrow. So that arrow and that karma, that's our free will action. In the present moment, we have an arrow on the bow. But there's also a third type of karma, which is called prarabdha karma. That means the arrows which have already been released. They're flying through the air. And the analogy I like to use is that of more modernize it a little bit. The modern hunter with a high-powered hunting rifle. He's hunting deer. He sees a movement in the forest. He aims his rifle and he pulls the trigger. Pulling the trigger is an act of karma. Two things happen. One is that high-powered rifle is going to kick back a little bit, leave maybe a little bruise on your shoulder. That means that there is an immediate, direct effect on your character and on your psyche. As a result of doing that action, shapes your character. That happens instantaneously. But then there's a second effect of action, which is indirect and which is delayed. That means that bullet goes out and it strikes the target, and maybe it was not a deer in the forest, maybe it was the farmer's cow. In which case now there's a whole chain of events that will happen. The farmer will discover this, he'll call the police car will come, and the man will be taken into custody. That's all his prarabdha karma. That's all the results of the things which he himself did. So these are two kinds of karma which we can think about. And by karma, of course, what we mean by karma is self-conscious, volitional, free will action. That's what karma is. You don't make karma in a dream. You don't make karma in heaven. Animals don't make karma. You don't make karma if you're driven along under the whip, being forced to build the pyramids of ancient Egypt. But when you do an act, when you actually do act, the prarabdha karma now is in effect. Let's look more in detail of this prarabdha karma. That means the things that we've done, the fruits of our karma. And all the things that happen in our life, the doctrine, I'll give you a hard interpretation of the doctrine of karma. There's a hard interpretation, there's a soft interpretation. This morning I'm going to give you the hard interpretation. And that is that everything that happens to us in our life is a result of our own self-conscious volitional actions. That everything is connected and returns and is impacted by our own past behavior. And it may be, that's why we're born. Why we're divine immortal souls. Now here we are, we find ourselves embodied souls, living on the earth. Why? Because of our past actions. And even in this life, we may find that we are in difficult circumstances. And we may find that we have all kinds of problems and troubles, and things have happened to us which appear to be just have come out of the blue and have made us what we are. But the Karmavadins will say, there's no one, you read the poem, famous poem by Swami Vedarupananda, no one to blame. No one but, that's the refrain of the poem, no one but me to blame. That is, the point being is that you may have painted yourself into a corner, even in the present life. But even if that's the case, still, you are the captain of the ship. Now, if you're the captain of a ship, maybe some wrong decisions have been made in the past. We find that we're on the wrong course. Can you turn that huge ocean liner around just to turn on a dime? No. Because there will be momentum of your past karma. You can't just... But you're the captain. You can give orders. You can make decisions that will gradually turn that ship around. And then the boat will turn around. And that's your karma. So the point being here is that you are, in a way, you could say that we are caused and we're conditioned. And doesn't that mean that we're determined? Yeah, we can say in a way you're determined. And this, if by determined you mean that we're conditioned, but you're not programmed. That is, we could say, this is not the same as the old idea of fate and determinism. You may say you are determined, conditioned, and influenced by your past actions, but you're not other determined. You're not determined by someone apart from yourself. You are self-determined. So let's look at that word now, determined. The key word, the word there. These are words that have all different interpretations. You're determined. Okay, let's use the word conditioned. Hypnotized, we could say in Vedanta. You're hypnotized by your own past actions. Let's look at determinism. Determinism means that you believe that everything has an antecedent cause, but determinists believe that those causes which come before are sufficient to force and to fix the actions, the events which follow. That's determinism. Determinists see a determinist is one who sees that this world is like a big cosmic game of dominoes. And you line up those dominoes, and you tip over one of them, and then one by one, they'll all fall. And the prediction of when the last domino will fall, that it will in fact fall in a certain way, all that is predictable. All that can be mathematically predicted, given if we know the antecedent cause. That's determinism. Determinists believe, for the most part, that you have no soul. You have no self. Certainly they believe that free will is an illusion. It's just an epiphenomenon. It's like just froth on the ocean. A person, according to a determinist, a person is like a train. You're like a coach on the train or something. Is riding on the tracks. You look out the window and you see the ocean. You think, oh, I'd like to go over there. You can't go over there. You're just a coach on the train. You can only go on the narrow tracks. That's already fixed. A determinist is somebody who believes that a person, that is, what is a person? A person is just a free will individual. A person is somebody like a marionette. Somebody else is always, there's other people pulling the strings in my life. That I'm somehow, people, circumstances, forces are working in nature. That is something, by nature we mean, something which is apart from myself. There's someone or something or some power apart from myself that's forcing me to do this. That means you think you're a marionette. You can't do anything. Now, the problem with determinism is you can't believe it. You can't, the problem with determinism, you can't live it out. The problem is you lose your integrity. If you truly believe that you're a determinist, then in fact you've probably lost your integrity. Integrity just means manasikam vachasikam karma nikam mahatmanam. That's a Mahatma. Mahatma Gandhi called him Mahatma. Mahatma means a man of integrity. That means his thoughts, his speech, and his actions are all the same. Whatever you think, you speak of, and you act on it. If you don't act on it, that means you don't really believe it. You have some verbal assent here in the mind, but in you haven't accepted it in your heart. You don't trust it. You don't have faith in it. So just imagine, how could you even be? How can a determinist do anything? Let's say that you're in a restaurant, and the waiter comes over. Yes, let's take the orders. Well, your friends order from the menu, and they say, oh, "Okay, now what are you gonna choose?" And you think, "Oh, well, wait a minute. I'm a determinist. I can't choose anything for myself. Things happen. Que sera, sera. I don't do anything. Forces, something will come in. Let me just wait and see what appears in my mind, what comes out of my mouth, what words will come out of my mouth. I can't choose anything." You wait and you wait. Your guests are thinking, "Come on, make a decision." I can't make. See, you're just completely immobilized. And even if you decide, no, I am just going to sit here and I'm going to be a staunch determinist, you can't make sense out of that decision unless you think that you were free to make that decision. Otherwise, you couldn't even decide to be a determinist. So therefore, we have to, fundamental in our spiritual life, we have to maintain our integrity. We don't want to be like the Brahman gardener, parable of Sri Ramakrishna, you remember. There was a Brahmin who maintained a garden, and he was so proud. Oh, he'd done everything in that garden. He had beautiful trees and flowering bushes, and plants and lawns and winding paths, which he himself had laid out with his own hands, planted all those flowers with his own hands and watered them. And one day as he was puttering in his art garden, what did he see? He saw a cow was eating one of his flowers. He became vexed. He became annoyed. In fact, he went over there and he picked up a stick and he began to beat the cow, and he beat the cow until she fell dead. And then he thought, oh my God, what have I done? I'm a Brahmin. I've killed a sacred cow. That's the worst sin in the world. How am I going to explain this? Well, I know. And he thought back about his religious training. Religious training tells us that it's actually not, that there's a presiding deity over all of our different bodies, limbs of the body. And in fact, the different eyes move by the will of some aspect of God, and the arms are raised and lowered by the will of Indra, the Lord of heaven. You say, yeah, that's it. It's Indra who caused my arm to raise up and beat that cow. That's it. And just as he was thinking like that, he heard the ring of the bell at the gate. Someone was at the gate. Went over there, and here's a visitor. Hello, he said, I've heard that you have a wonderful garden here. He said, please show me around. Okay. The Brahmin forgot all about what the cow. Oh, let me show you around. Winding paths. This is what explained. This is my tree. See these trees? I ordered them myself. I planted the bushes myself. There's the flowers. Yes, I laid out this path, laid each stone with my own hands. And as they were walking around, they came around a little turn in the path, and there, what did they see? The visitor saw there, says, what is that? What is that? Says, it's a cow? What is she sleeping? And the Brahmin looked at him. He said, well, no, she's not sleeping. Or she's dead. What? Oh, they'd be dead. What happened? Well, he says it's just bad because she was eating flowers, and Indra, something came and possessed my arm, the Lord Indra, and raised my arm up and began beating her with a stick, and now she's dead. I didn't do anything. It was Indra who did all this. And is that so? Said the visitor. And then he reveals himself. It's Indra, the god Indra, who's appeared there, chastises him. Yes, now you have to bear this sin for 7 generations. So like that, we don't want to be like that. We lose our integrity, do everything ourselves, and we think, yeah, Indra raises my arm and lowers my arm. You can't get rid of this idea of free will. You can't get out of the idea that I am the doer. I am the doer. Nobody else is doing this. I make the decision, and I bear the responsibility. In ancient times, they used to call this fatalism, because they believed that the gods in heaven were literally the sister's fate. One of them spun the thread, and the other cut the thread, the length of our life. The other one spun it out, and then the other last cut it, how long we will live. It's all predestined. We are not predestined. That's event causation. That's not free agent causation. And Swami Vedarupananda tells the story of the king. That is, the Maharaja is in the court, and he calls his astrologer. The astrologer comes in, cast my horoscope. He sits down and he calculates all the numbers from all the Sanskrit books, does all the mathematics, comes up with a decision. Yes, well, Your Majesty, sorry, I have to tell you, you're going to die in 2 days. Oh, the king is just, he's just stunned. He's devastated. He's terrified. What's this? What's going to happen? Do your calculations again. The astrologer went back and worked out all his mathematical calculations. No, still the same. Same result. You're going to be dead in 2 days. That was his prediction. Well, the king, of course, couldn't sleep that night. The next day, the prime minister, he saw, the king couldn't even govern anymore. He was so worried about this terrible prediction. Let's call the astrologer back again, said the prime minister, which they did. And the prime minister asked him, sir, you predicted this about our king. and you checked your calculations, you said that you were correct. Tell us, how long will you predict that you live? Oh, said the astrologer, I predicted, I know exactly, I'm going to live on 10 years and 2 weeks and 3 days. Oh, is that so? Said the Prime Minister. Pulled out his scimitar, his sword, big curved, old Hindu sword, cut off the head of the astrologer. Head went rolling on the ground. And then he told the king, you see this astrologer, he made these predictions. He couldn't even predict his own future. It's your own actions that will determine your destiny. So that's the astrologer. My apologies to the astrologers here, but you're in good company, by the way. A lot of our swamis follow astrology. But at this point, it raises, I'm just going on here too slow, but it raises a philosophical question. Now we have the Purva Paksha, he's called. He's the guy who objects. This is the guy in the Upanishads, commentaries, who objects to everything that has been said. That from what we've read in philosophy, students that there are philosophers and saints and sages who say that there is no free will. Now let's take, for example, Sri Ramakrishna. In the Gospel we read, Sri Ramakrishna says, you have heard about a mechanical doll that you wind up. They sell these in the marketplace, the New Market. They sell these little dolls like that. You buy the mechanical doll, you wind it up, and you put a letter in her hand, and you position it, and the doll will walk into a store and deliver the letter. He said, you are like that doll. There is no free will. And then, there's no free will. And not only that, you say that you can't really practice free will with integrity. Well, what about, for example, one of the parables of Sri Ramakrishna, and there are other examples. The parable of Sri Ramakrishna, there's a weaver, and he's weaving a tapestry, and there it's late at night, and he's humming to himself. He's a great devotee of Rama. Rama means God, name of God. And he's weaving a tapestry, and he's thinking, humming to himself. The yarn goes all over and under, all by the will of Rama. It goes over by the will of Rama, under by the will of Rama. Like this he's thinking. And what does he hear? Suddenly the door breaks down, and into the room come some robbers. And they just grab hold of him, drag him out, say, you're coming with us. You're going to carry our bag with the tools, the crowbars. And the weaver is just dragged along with them. They wander through the streets at night. They find a likely house. They climb up the second story of the house, and the robbers plunder that house. They put some pots and pans and jewelry into that bag. And then they just jump out, climb down, and disappear in the shadows, waiting for the weaver. Now he's stumbling behind them. He's carrying this bag. He was told to carry the bag with all the stuff in it. He climbs out the window. He's making a clatter. By this time, the neighbors have heard the noise. They've called the police. They hear the police siren come. Police come, show up. And what do they find? They find the weaver standing there with all the loot in the bag. He's left holding the bag. There he is. And he's arrested. He's taken to court. Of course, the robbers, they go off scot-free. They disappear. Or he's taken away, put in jail. Next day, he's brought before the mayor of the town. And then he's accused. What is your evidence against this man? Well, he was caught red-handed. He had a whole bag of stuff. And the judge looks at him. He says, well, what about you, sir? What is your explanation? And the weaver said, well, I was weaving there by the will of Rama. And by the will of Rama, some robbers came into my house. By the will of Rama, they dragged me out, took me down the streets, made me climb up the buildings. And by the will of Rama, they put things in the bag, and they jumped out the window. And by the will of Rama, I followed them out the window. And by the will of Rama, I was apprehended by the police. I spent the night in jail, and here I am before the court by the will of Rama. And the judge, hearing that story, he also was a devotee. He was a great devotee of Rama. He loved Rama. And when he heard that story, he was so impressed. He was so amazed. Wow, this is a saint. Of course, he's a wonderful saint. And so charges dropped. And the weaver went home and he continued weaving by the will of Rama. And that's the story. Now the question arises in our mind, and which one is it? I mean, which one is true? Do we have free will or don't? And that's a rhetorical question. And the fact of the matter is that I'll give you the answer to that. The answer is that everyone's right. The truth is like a mountain. As we climb the mountain, our perspective changes. The mountain of truth, there's lower truth and there's higher truth. There's the truth as we begin at the bottom. We begin with the eyes of the flesh. We revolve the eyes of the mind, the eye of the spirit. We grow as we climb. Our viewpoints change. Our perspective changes. Our philosophy changes. We begin in the foothills. We're individualists. We believe that there are many individuals. Climb up to the top of the mountain, there's only one. So it goes to the many to the one. These are the binaries of the mountain of truth. But let's leave all this. So which one? We have to say, well, wait a minute, that sounds confusing. Okay, let's leave all that aside. Because it's true that this debate between these different parables and things has been going on for 1,000 years. And it's created a lot of debates and controversy and confusion and distraction. So let's just set it all aside for our purposes this morning and return to our theme. Our theme is that you are a free will agent. God has given you free will. It's free will which enables us to be human. You see, the absolute, the teaching of Vedanta is that you are the infinite, pure consciousness. That is the absolute. One only without a second. It's infinite, absolute freedom. The problem is, the absolute cannot express itself. See, in order to express itself, it has to be embodied. It has to be a jiva. In the words of the Sankhya philosophy, how did that happen? Well, let's just imagine that the infinite, your pure consciousness, that's the Purusha. He decided, he came down to the earth one day. There's Prakriti and Purusha. There's pure consciousness and there's nature. So the Purusha came down to earth one day. And there, when he saw there a man who was very strong of body, limbs, and he had, but he was blind. He was blind. But the Purusha, of course, he's the spirit. The pure spirit cannot act. can't make any decisions, can't do anything, can't go anywhere. And so he said, hey, let's strike up a bargain. Let me ride on your shoulders, says the spirit, that is the Purusha, and I will be your guide, and I'll make the decisions, and you just carry me where we'll go. This way we can both live more happily. And so, the Purusha, that is the spirit, that is your own self, you found yourself embodied, and now we have all the apparatus to live in this world, our body, our mind, our volition, our power to move. It's what makes us human. But free will is the precepts of all rationality. You can't be rational. Rational means you have to make a choice between what is true and what's false. You can't choose. If you have no choice, then choice loses all its meaning. There is no choice. You can't have any morality because you couldn't choose. If you can't choose, you can't be moral. If you're not free to choose, you have any aesthetics, you can't have any sense of beauty, you can't love anyone unless you're free to choose. That's why God has given us free will. God doesn't, he could have programmed us to love him, but he didn't. Gives us, why? Because it doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. When you say you love someone, that means you have to of your own choice. So this is all the meaning of why we need that is, free will is the presupposition of all of our thinking, all of our feeling. You can't even speak. You can't construct a sentence without the idea of choosing your words and understanding about what you are going to say. There we see God has given us free will. We can't get rid of it. You can't dismiss it. You can't explain it away. You can't wish it away. And if you're going to have integrity, you've got to accept it, integrate it, and take yourself where we are. Now we are individuals. We have to take ourselves where we are. We move forward. All that we are today is the result of our self-conscious, volitional decisions of the past. And all that we will be tomorrow is the result of our choices and decisions that we make today. The arrow is on the bow. But it's up to you to decide.
Whatever beauty there may be that my eyes do see, may your beauty ever be inside this heart. Whatever work my hands can share with best effort and with care, may I always find you here inside this heart. Through every joy and sorrow that I face, on every road I walk, through every place, with every step I take, your endless grace guides me ever on, gives me every song. So many stars to shine on me, so many prayers appeal. dance will be, your rhythms play so endlessly, and move my feet continually in your dance. I give to you my every song, my mind and heart to you belong. And when at last life's dance is done, to you I'll come. Through every joy and sorrow that I face, on every road I walk, through every place, with every step I take, your endless grace guides me ever on, gives me every song. Whatever beauty there may be that my eyes do see, may your beauty ever be inside this heart. Whatever work my hands can share, with best effort and with care, may I always find you here, inside this heart, inside this heart.
So announcements, there will be a class on Wednesday, 5 o'clock in the convent. And on Saturday, Swami Vedarupananda will give a class on the Bhagavad Gita. And Sunday, the topic is the power, it's not the power, what is it? The power of desireless action. And Swami Vedarupananda will speak. Om Dyo Shanti Antariksha Ham Shanti Prithivi Shanti Apo Shanti Oshadaya Shanti Vanaspataya Shanti Vishwe Deva Shanti Brahma Shanti Sarvam Shanti Shantireva Shanti Same Shantiredhi Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, peace is in heaven, peace is on the earth, peace is in the sky and in the waters. The herbs and plants and trees are full of peace. The gods are peaceful. May this eternal universal peace enter our souls and beings. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all.